You ever have one of those moments that flips your whole world upside down, like the kind that punches you in the gut and leaves you reeling, not knowing whether to laugh, cry, or just disappear for a while? Yeah, that was me not so long ago. It's almost funny how life comes for you when you least expect it. One second, I'm Samantha Cross, the kind of CEO who chews up boardrooms for breakfast and signs million-dollar contracts before noon. Next second, I'm staring through a car window in Midtown, realizing I might have traded away every real thing that ever mattered to me. You know what I mean? The leather of my Tesla felt cold and slick under my hands, but the only thing I could focus on was the scene outside a little slice of Central Park, so green it hurt to look at. Right there, on a battered old bench, sat David Miller, my almost husband. 5 years since I'd seen him. 5 years since I'd slipped out the door of our Brooklyn apartment, leaving behind the engagement ring, 2 6-month-old baby girls, and a note that never even made it to the kitchen counter. I told myself I was doing the right thing for them, for me, for my company. Looking at him now, pushing a stroller with one hand and laughing with those 2 identical girls, I realized that was a lie I'd told myself so often I almost believed it. "Ma'am, the traffic's moving," my driver said, but I didn't even blink. Those girls, Emma and Sophie, my mind whispered, were all golden curls and squealing laughter, chasing pigeons while David watched them with a patience I'd never managed. He looked older, more tired, but the love on his face was a punch straight to my chest. I'd built a life out of numbers and deals, always convincing myself that work was everything. But in that moment, I realized just how much I'd missed. My past, my mistakes, and God help me family. Tears came without warning, hot and embarrassing. When was the last time I cried? The driver kept glancing at me, probably wondering if he needed to call security. "Turn around," I finally whispered, desperate to undo 5 years of running. But by the time we'd fought our way back to that bench, the park had swallowed them up. Gone just like that. I sat there for 20 minutes, staring at empty wood and grass, feeling like the loneliest woman in New York. I couldn't shake the image the way David smiled at those girls, the easy affection, the total devotion. My empire felt hollow, like a glass tower I'd built just to keep myself from feeling anything at all. That night, I didn't sleep. Just wandered my penthouse, city lights blinking, asking myself if there was any way back from this. By sunrise, I made up my mind with the same ruthless efficiency I applied to every hostile takeover. If I was going to fix what I broke, I had to start now. Marcus Webb, private investigator, looked at me like he already knew too much. David Miller, Brooklyn, twin daughters Emma and Sophie, 5 years old. I rattled off, trying not to sound desperate. I need everything: address, numbers, work, medical, the whole picture. 48 hours later, a thick file landed on my desk, and opening it felt like surgery without anesthesia. David older, thinner, clothes worn from washing, and yet every photo with the girls was lit up with a love that could power half the city. Teacher, elementary school, living in a 2-bedroom in Park Slope, scraping by, but making it work. Then the real gut punch: medical bills, doctor's appointments, specialist consults. Not for the girls. For David. He was sick, fighting something big and expensive, and still showing up for every parent-teacher meeting and birthday and nightmare at 3 a.m. I walked away from that, convinced myself he was better off without me, that I'd only messed things up, but seeing his exhaustion and those happy, secure girls, I realized I'd been a coward. And now he was in trouble. It took me 3 hours and 4 tries to call him. When his voice finally came through the line, older, rougher, worn down by 5 years of single parenting, almost hung up. "David, it's me." "Samantha." Silence. Then anger. And hurt. I can't even write out everything he said, but let's just say he had every right. I'd left. No explanation. "You can't just show up after 5 years and expect to play house," he said. "They're my daughters. I've been their everything. I begged for one meeting. Just one. If after that he never wanted to see me again, I'd disappear." He agreed, but only if it was just us, no kids, no drama. Sitting across from him in a corner cafe, I barely recognized the man I'd once loved. He was tired, bitter, angry, and somehow, beneath it all, still hoping for something. We danced around our pain for a while. He made it clear. Emma and Sophie were his world, and if I hurt them again, it'd finish him. When I asked about his health, he tried to brush me off, but I pressed. Finally, he admitted it. Progressive muscular dystrophy, maybe 10 years before he'd need full-time care if the money didn't run out first. "Let me help," I said, and he laughed in my face. Didn't want my charity, didn't want the woman who'd left him to suddenly try and save the day with money. But I didn't back down. "Let me pay for treatment. Let me do one thing right." He challenged me. If I really wanted to be part of their lives, it had to be real. Not just showing up when I felt guilty, not just signing checks. Be their mother. Every day. No backing out. And that's how I found myself stepping back from Cross Industries, announcing to the board that I was done with day-to-day operations and moving into a cramped Park Slope apartment with 2 little girls who barely knew me and a man I'd once promised forever. Let me tell you, being a mother is nothing like being a CEO. My first week, I burned the mac and cheese, got everyone late for school, and broke down crying because Emma's teacher asked if I was the family friend. I learned to braid hair from YouTube. Learned that Sophie only eats the marshmallows and cereal. Learned that being needed is harder and better than being in charge. But I also learned the real stuff. Like how Emma checked the windows at night to make sure I hadn't left. How Sophie crawled into my bed with her stuffed bunny when she had nightmares. I started seeing myself in their smiles and worries, started loving them in ways I'd never thought possible. Then, when David's treatment went sideways and he ended up in the hospital, it was me and the girls camped out in plastic chairs, holding hands through the scariest night of their lives. I promised I wouldn't leave again. This time, I meant it. The shift was slow, like thawing after a long winter. The girls started calling me Mommy, Sophie first, then Emma after a week of wary testing. We built new traditions pancakes on weekends, homework together, movie nights. David got stronger, the treatments working better than anyone expected, and for the first time in years, he laughed, really laughed, in our little living room. 6 months in, I introduced Emma and Sophie to my parents, their grandparents. That day was chaos and grace and forgiveness, all wrapped up in one family dinner. My parents saw what I'd nearly lost, and for the first time, I felt proud not for my business, but for the family I was building from the ashes. The girl's 6th birthday was coming up, and I went full CEO, planning a party at the Rainbow Room with entertainers and ponies. But Emma just wanted a picnic in Central Park, the place where I'd first seen them again. Sometimes kids know better than adults. So we canceled everything, spread out a blanket, and watched them blow out candles together. "I wish for us to be a real family, forever," Emma whispered, hugging me tight. And that's when I knew I'd finally come home. 15 months after that first meeting in the park, our life is a beautiful mess. The company runs just fine without me running the show. Our Brooklyn apartment bursts with art projects and pancake batter. David's health is stable. The girls are thriving. And I'm not the most powerful woman in Manhattan anymore. I'm just a mother who learned, almost too late, what really matters. You want to know the real kicker? I'd do it all over again, even with the heartbreak and chaos. Because every second of this crazy, noisy, imperfect family is worth more than every dollar I ever made. That's my story. And maybe, just maybe, if you're reading this, you'll look around at the people you love and realize it's never too late for a second chance. So let me ask you, where do you stand on forgiveness, on family, on what really matters when the world stops spinning for a second? Drop a comment, share your story. Right, wrong, or somewhere in between, how do you measure the worth of a life rebuilt?